I'm Earl Purdy. Welcome to Hardcore Course in Miracles. Hardcore Course in Miracles.
There's a call for God, I see it everywhere. Everybody's running scared, and everything is turning upside down.
Welcome to Hardcore Course in Miracles.
But the words I hear, they keep coming through from deep inside of me and you. It's telling us that love is who I am. You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one.
Welcome to Hardcore Course in Miracles.
Yeah, yeah.
This is your spiritual reporter, teacher, Earl Purdy.
Now let's come together and understand that Christ was born inside of every man. He's waiting for us to choose him as ourselves. When you choose him, you know you choose me too. And everyone becomes a part of you. And then you'll know that love is who I am. You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start.
Oh yeah.
Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one. Yeah, yeah, we are one. Oh, we are one.
Welcome to Hardcore Course in Miracles. I'm your divine repetition teacher. I'm Earl Purdy, and this video is especially directed toward a Course in Miracles students. People who are students of a Course in Miracles, and they see themselves as students of the Course in Miracles. Anybody's welcome to watch, but it's going to be particularly geared toward people who are into the Course in Miracles. They love the Course in Miracles. They're studying the Course in Miracles. They really want to do it. They've made that decision. That's why it's called Hardcore.
You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one.
We are one.
Oh,
We're going to be on page 19 in the Manual for Teachers.
yeah, yeah, we are one.
The function of the teacher of God. The function of the teacher of God. Page 19 in the Fun Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles.
And you are me.
Hey, it's good to have all of you online. This is Hardcore Course in Miracles. We are going to be on page 19 in the Manual for Teachers, and we're going to be in the section called The Function of the Teacher of God. The Function of the Teacher of God in the Teacher's Manual. It's good to see you online, mighty companions. Don't forget to share the video so other people can watch. I've been doing the Course in Miracles almost 40 years, and for 30 years it's been my full-time way of expressing myself in the world. And I love it with all my heart, and I have studied it every day since 1980, November 1980. And the Course says the function of a relationship is to save time. So I hope you're being willing to open your mind and do this with me, that it will save you time. Now, the Course in Miracles says that you need to remember. So I don't analyze in my class. I'm not one of those teachers who sit around and analyze a Course in Miracles, even though whoever does that is totally innocent. I don't. The Course in Miracles says that we should remember the ideas and apply and use the ideas. The Course in Miracles says that our understanding is not a powerful contribution to the truth. So whether something works has nothing to do necessarily with how you understand it. So I think that the section that I'm covering tonight on page 19 in the Manual for Teachers, which is the function of the teacher of God. So remember, you need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe, and others may seem to be quite startling. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. You are not asked to analyze the ideas at all. It's their use that will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. It is using the ideas. Using the ideas will show you that the ideas are true. Using the ideas will show you that the ideas are true. Use it. Use it. Use it. Use it. Use it. Okay. You are very welcome. It's good to see you, mighty companions, online. And don't forget, I am watching you. I'm seeing your comments, and I check your comments out later when I finish. And we're going to get into this section, because this section is called the function of the teacher of God. So what is your function as a demonstrator of love? Because the Course in Miracles teaches that a teacher is a demonstrator. 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 And the Course in Miracles says we learn by remembering and repeating. So I do a lot of repetition, a lot of repeating, and I use music, and I use rhythm, and I use everything that would help get us just out of our heads. So let me go through the paragraph, and hopefully through me you will hear what it's saying and remember it. The Course in Miracles says, if the patient must change his mind in order to be healed, what does the teacher of God do? So if a person has to change their mind in order to be healed, what do? You are a demonstrator of God. You're here to be a teacher of God. You're here to be a demonstrator of God. So if a person has to change their mind in order to be happy, if a person has to change their mind in order to be healed, what do you do? What do you do? Can you change the other person's mind for them? Can you change the patient's mind for him? Can you change the other person's mind for them? Certainly not. The Course in Miracles says certainly not. You can't change the other person's mind for them, but the person needs to change their mind in order to be healed or happy, but you can't change their mind for them. So what do? Okay, you know that the people around you, if they're unhappy and miserable, they've got to change their mind. You know you can't change their mind for them. So the Course in Miracles says, what do? Well, it says in paragraph 1, for those already willing to change their minds, you, I'll say he, I'll say you, I'll put it this way. For those already willing to change their minds, for you that are already willing to change your mind, you have no function except to rejoice with them. So when you're around somebody that's ready to change their mind, your function is to be happy with them. If you're around somebody that's ready to change their mind, if you're around some, like all of us, we're ready to change our minds. That's why we're here. Well, then we're supposed to rejoice with each other because we are here because we want to change our minds. So the Course says right there, those already willing to change their minds, the teacher of God has no function except to rejoice with them. So when you're around other truth students who really want to change their mind, your function is to rejoice with them. Your function is not to fix them. Your function is not to correct them. Your function is not to debate with them. Your function is not to fix them. Your function is not to correct them. When you're around other Course in Miracles teachers, or when you're around anybody that's willing to change their mind, anybody that's willing to say there must be a better way, the Course in Miracles says, then you have no function except to rejoice with them, for they have become teachers of God with you. So anybody that's willing to change their mind, they are a teacher of God. And anybody else that's willing to change their mind, they are also teachers of God. And when you're around teachers of God, the Course says you should be rejoicing. So a teacher of God is a teacher of love because the Course in Miracles teaches that God is love. The Course in Miracles teaches that God is love. So I'm going to substitute the word love a lot because that's what the Course in Miracles is talking about. So let me get this straight. If a person has to change their mind if they're going to be healed, if they're going to be happy. You as a teacher, a demonstrator, you cannot change their mind for them. If they are already ready to change their mind, then your job is to rejoice with them because anybody that's willing to change their mind and move in the direction of love and truth, that's a teacher of God, that's a teacher of love. The Course says, now the teacher of God has, however, a more specific function for those who don't understand what healing is. So you have a more specific function for who? People who don't really know what healing is. People who really don't know that they're the creator of their experience. People who don't know that they are not victims. People who don't know that they are the holy child of God. Those who don't know that they create their own reality, their own perception, their own belief. Those who have not changed their mind. Those who don't understand what healing is. Those who don't understand what love is. You have a much more specific function for everybody that you know that doesn't know what love is. A teacher of God has a more specific function for those who do not understand what healing is. For those who don't understand what healing is, you have a very specific function. For those who don't understand what healing is, you have a very specific function. Those patients, those people do not realize they have chosen sickness. So a person who doesn't understand what healing is a person that doesn't realize they have chosen sickness. A person who does not know what healing is a person that doesn't know they've chosen whatever it is that they're upset about. That a person who doesn't understand what healing is a person who doesn't know that they chose their sickness. They chose whatever the situation is that they're giving themselves a lack of peace in. If you don't realize you chose whatever sickness that you go through, and sickness is any form of lack of peace, whatever thing that's not causing you peace, the Course in Miracles says you chose it. But if you don't know you chose it, then you don't know what healing is. So a person who doesn't know what healing is a person who doesn't know that they have chosen sickness. Sickness is any form of lack of peace. On the contrary, people who are sick, people who are unhappy believe that the sickness or unhappiness has chosen them. So if you don't know what healing is, you believe that things happen to you that you did not choose. If you don't know what healing is, you believe that things happen to you that you have nothing to do with. Things happen to you that you did not choose. That means that you don't know what healing is. And the Course says there's some people that don't believe that that they chose their sickness, but not only that, they're not open-minded about it. They're not open-minded on that point. What point? That it's a possibility that you're the one that's determining everything that happens to you. There's a possibility that you're the one that's attracting, creating, manifesting, dreaming everything that's happening to you. There's a possibility that you are the creator of your experience and you're not a victim of your experience. But the Course says someone who doesn't know what healing is somebody that's not open-minded about that. They believe that the body tells them what to do and they obey. See, I believe that I got a headache and I had nothing to do with that. I believe that I have a sickness, but I had nothing to do with that. My body tells me what to do and I obey. My body tells me how to feel. My body tells me what's going on. Those who don't know what healing is, the Course in Miracles says that the body tells them what to do and they obey. So a person who doesn't know what healing is believes that things happen with their body and things happen in their physical reality that has nothing to do with them and they didn't choose it. And a person who believes that, the Course in Miracles says they have no idea how insane this concept is. So what is the concept that is insane? The insane concept is that your body tells you what to do. The insane concept is believing that sickness has chosen you and you didn't choose the sickness. That is what the Course in Miracles calls an insane concept. It's insane to think that things are happening to you that you have nothing to do with. It's insane to think that things are happening to you that you don't have anything to do with. The Course in Miracles says if you even suspected it, you would be healed. So what does that mean? We would be healed if we even suspected that we were the one that were causing everything that's happening to us in our perception. You would be healed if you even suspected that you were the one that were truly creating your experience. You would be happy if you even suspected that you were the one creating your experience. So a person that is not happy and peaceful is a person that has temporarily forgotten that they are the ones that's creating their experience. A person that's unhappy is a person who thinks they are a victim of situations and circumstances outside themselves. The Course says if they even suspected it, they would be healed. If you even suspected what? If you even suspected that you are the one that chooses the situations and circumstances, the sickness in your experience. If you even suspected it, you would be healed. The Course says that a person that's sick, a person that's unhappy, that's a person who suspects nothing. A person that's unhappy and sick is a person that does not even suspect that they could possibly be the one that's making the perception or the situation that's making them unhappy. To the person that's sick, to the person that's unhappy, the separation is quite real. The separation is quite real to those who have forgotten the truth. The separation is quite real. So what did that first paragraph tell us? It told us that if a person has to change their mind in order to be healed, if the person, I'm going to paraphrase it. Here we go. Because remember, I'm the divine repetition teacher. Now, if a person is going to change their mind in order to heal, if a person has to change their mind in order to be healed, what do you do? What does the teacher do? If a person has to change their mind in order to be healed, what do you do? Well, it said, do you know you can't change the person's mind for them? So you have two functions. Function number one is, if you're around other people who are ready to change their mind, then you don't have a job except your only job is to rejoice with them. But for people who don't know that they are making their experience, for people who don't know they're the creators of their experience, for ordinary people, if you're in the presence of ordinary people, if you're in the presence of people who believe that they have no power over what's happening to them in their experience, then you have a very specific function for people who don't know that they create their experience, who don't know that they are spirit, who think that they are just bodies. In other words, regular folk. You have a special function as a teacher of God, a teacher of love. And in paragraph 2 in the manual, section 5, in the manual, section 3, paragraph 2, it says, to them God's teachers come to represent another choice which they've forgotten. So why are you in anybody else's life? The Course says because if you're going to be a demonstrator of love, if you're going to be a teacher of God, then you come to represent another choice that unhappy people have forgotten. You come to represent another choice that someone that's unhappy has forgotten. Do you know that your simple presence can be a reminder of the truth? I'll say it again. You don't have to necessarily teach anything outwardly to anybody. You don't have to necessarily say anything to anybody. Your simple presence, when you remember the truth, your simple presence can be a reminder. Your thoughts ask for the right to question what the patient has accepted as true. What does that mean? It means that while you're in the presence of someone who is unhappy because they don't know that they are not a victim, that they don't know that they are spirit, they don't know that they are the creator of their experience. When you're around a regular person, your presence could be a simple reminder of the truth, because you're going to be thinking, you're going to say, you're going to question what the person has accepted as true. So I'm with somebody who's unhappy, who doesn't know the truth, and they believe that they are a victim. What do I do? Well, my presence can be a reminder. How can my presence be a reminder? Because I can be questioning in my mind what that person has accepted as true. In other words, I don't have to believe what that person believes who's unhappy. That I need to be in their presence, remembering the truth, asking for the right to question what that person has accepted as true. See, you are a messenger of God. So what does that mean? Well, it says his teachers are the symbols of salvation. So you're supposed to be the symbol of love. You're supposed to be the symbol of peace. So what does God's teacher do? He says a teacher of God asks the patient for forgiveness for God's son in his own name. So what does that mean? It means you stand for the alternative. So you're supposed to represent the alternative. If a person is unhappy, you're supposed to represent happiness. If a person believes in lack, you're supposed to represent abundance. If a person believes in conflict, you're supposed to believe in peace. In other words, your job as a teacher of God, your job as a teacher of love is to represent the alternative. So that means that you've got the truth in your mind. It says, with God's word in their minds, they come in benediction. So with the truth in your mind, you come in benediction. So from a Course in Miracles standpoint, what does it mean to come in benediction? It means that you come not to try to heal the sick. So you're not trying to heal that person. You're not trying to fix that person. It says, but to remind them of the remedy God has already given them. So you have come to that person to remind them of the truth that God has already given them. So your function is to remind them. Did you see where it says remind them? So that's why I do that in my classes. That's why I call myself the Divine Repetition Teacher. I call myself the Divine Repetition Teacher because I know that my function as a teacher of God is to remind you that God has given you a remedy called the Course in Miracles, for example. And there are many other paths, but God has given you a remedy called the Course in Miracles, the truth. And so it's not your hands that's going to heal anybody. It's not your hands that's going to heal anybody. It's not you that's going to heal anybody. It's not you that's going to heal anybody. The Course in Miracles says it's not their voice that speaks the word of God. So it's not going to be your voice that speaks the word of truth. It's not going to be your voice that speaks the word of love. You are going to do what? You're just going to give what's been given to you. You're going to give the love that's been given to you. You're going to give the truth that's been given to you. You're going to give the peace that has been given to you. Then the Course in Miracles says, very gently, a teacher of God calls to their brothers, which we already have said that brothers mean equals, right? So it says, very gently we call to our equals. Very gently a teacher of God calls to their brothers to turn away from death. So very gently I'm going to tell you to turn away from death, turn away from fear, turn away from fear, turn away from death. It says, so how do you do that? Well, it says, how do you call to your brothers? How do you call to your equals? You say in your mind, you say in your mind, you say in your mind. And if you're spiritually led to say it in your voice outwardly, that's okay. But remember, it's not the words. It's your simple presence. It's your simple presence. It's not the words. So what you want to do in your mind, you want to go, behold, it says, behold, you son of God, what life can offer you. So that's another way of saying, you say to the person, look, you child of love, see what life can offer you. I want you to see what life can offer you. You're the child of God. You're the child of love. So I want you to see what life can offer you. And then I ask you, would you choose sickness in place of this? Would you choose sickness in place of what love would offer you? Would you choose sickness in place of what health would offer you? The Course in Miracles is only talking about love or fear. Love takes many forms, including health, and fear takes many forms, including sickness. That's why I interchange these terms, because that is what the Course does constantly. So what do you do? Okay, let me get this straight, because this is about remembering. Well, the first thing we were told is that a person needs to change their mind if they're unhappy and they're sick and they want to be happy. Then we were told what? We were told that they need to change their mind, but you can't change their mind for them. You can't change another person's mind for them. It also told us that if you're around somebody who really wants to change their mind, who really wants to learn the truth, then you don't have any function with that person other than to be happy with them. But then we were told that we have a much more specific function with people who don't know the truth, who believe that they are victims. The Course in Miracles says what you do with people who believe that they are victims is that your simple presence can be the reminder of the truth, because when you're in their presence, you can question what they're telling themselves about things that are not true. That's not true, that's making them unhappy. And you don't have to necessarily do that in words. But in your mind, what you would say is, I want you to see what life can offer you. Would you choose sickness in place of this? Would you choose unhappiness in place of happiness? So that's very specific. So don't analyze that. I want you to hear what it's saying. It's saying that you can't change another person's mind. If the other person is ready to change their mind, you need to be happy with them. If it's a person that doesn't know the truth and believes that they are a victim and they're not open-minded on that point, then you represent a alternative just by being there with them. And while you're with them, don't believe anything that they're saying. If they're saying they're miserable, unhappy, things don't go right for them, they have a lack of peace, whatever they're complaining about, whatever they're unhappy about, do not go into agreement. Don't go into agreement. Don't go into agreement with anything that anybody's saying that's less than love. It doesn't mean you want to necessarily say that out loud, because if you do and they're not open-minded, it's just going to start a lot of debate. What you want to do is silently not believe them. Just keep your mouth shut and don't believe them, unless you're spiritually led by the Holy Spirit to say something. That's very specific. In your mind, you're supposed to be going, behold, you son of God, what life can offer you. Would you choose sickness in place of this? That is what you're supposed to do. That is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to question what they're telling themselves. You're supposed to question what they have accepted as true when they're unhappy. You don't want to go into agreement with them. And you don't need to say it out loud unless you're stupid. And I don't think you're stupid. I think only a stupid ego would say to a person that they created the tragedy that they're going through if they're completely miserable and unhappy, because they're completely miserable and unhappy because they don't know that they created it for real. So for you to say to them, well, why did you create that? That is totally the person's ego that does that. That would be totally your ego. That's why the easiest way to practice the Course is to keep your mouth shut, is to be silent and think it as much as possible. That's why higher beings don't talk to us. Have you noticed that generally speaking, it's because they are doing the healing mentally, just like we're being asked to do it mentally. Question that person and say, behold, you son of God, what life can offer you. Would you choose sickness in place of this? Because, I know you got sense enough to know that if you walked into the hospital and somebody had just gotten an operation, you wouldn't walk in there and go, well, you created that, don't you? You would be the one in the hospital, because they're going to knock your block off if they could. It's funny that people do stuff like that. Anyway, let's go to Andrea says, I have to be it so my brothers can see it. Emily says, it's my job, I have to fight for them, which is hurting my spirit. In my job, I have to fight for them. Emily, think about what I'm saying. What you should be doing is exactly what I'm saying. You should be thinking the truth in their presence, questioning their right, their choices that they made in your mind, unless you are spiritually led to say something. And when you are spiritually led to say something, you probably won't even know you said it, and you certainly will have peace. And so keep that in mind, because the name of the game on Thursday night is to remember what it's saying first before you try to figure out how you're going to actualize it in your day-to-day life. When you immediately hear what the Course is saying and immediately start thinking about how you're going to apply it before you let yourself hear it and remember it, it's a trick. What you're supposed to be doing, what we're supposed to be doing, is remembering the steps. That's what we're trying to do. Not worry about who we're going to apply it to yet. We want to hear what it's saying. So let's go further. Okay, that's right, Andrea. We have to use common sense. Be helpful but not hurtful. We don't really know what's best for anybody anyway. You know, the truth of it is, you don't really know what's best for anybody anyway. Only God knows. Only the Holy Spirit knows. So the Course in Miracles is saying that in paragraph 3, it says, not once do the advanced teachers of God consider the forms of sickness in which their brother believes. What does that mean? That you're not going to focus on what the person is unhappy about. If you're really going to be a teacher of God, you don't focus on the form of the upset. Oh, the form is, I think it's my child, I think it's my job, I think it's my money, I think it's my health. It says not once do by the way, we're not advanced teachers of God. So it said, the way that we're going to be one day. So it says, not once do the advanced teachers of God consider the forms of sickness in which their brother believes. So I'm not going to consider the thing that you're upset about when I become an advanced demonstrator of love. I'm not going to focus on the particular thing that you think you're upset about when I become an advanced teacher of love. Because if I consider the forms of sickness or the forms of upset in which the person believes, the Course says to do this is to forget that all of the forms of sickness have what? The same purpose, and therefore are not really different. So the Course in Miracles says you're not really different from the person that you have the same purpose. Wherever there's the same purpose, it's not really different. So whether you think it's a toothache, whether you think it's an upset in your relationship, whether you think it's your money, whether you think it's your body that's got you upset, the once that I become an advanced teacher of God, I'm not going to even consider that, because all of those upsets really have the same purpose. All your different upsets have the same purpose. All your different problems have the same purpose. All of your different problems have the same purpose. Any person's different problems have the same purpose. The Course says the advanced teacher of God does not even consider the form of the sickness or the form of the upset, because all upsets, all problems have the same purpose, and so they're not really different. The truth is, a headache isn't different from can't pay my bills, which isn't different from my job kicks my butt, which isn't different from me and my partner having relationship problems. The Course in Miracles says you wouldn't even consider the differences. The reason why you wouldn't consider the differences is because they have the same purpose. So what do you do as a teacher of God? It says, they seek for God's voice in this brother. So the first thing I'm going to do with the person that's upset is I'm going to start seeking for love's voice. I'm going to start seeking for God's voice in that person. I'm going to start seeking the truth in that person. So then what would the advanced teacher of God do? Let me my battery was running out on my monitor. I'm just hooking up the power to it so I can still see your comments. Okay. So you see how I'm taking this one sentence at a time. I'm giving you very specific instructions that the Course is saying. It says, first of all, I'm not going to consider all the different things that the other person is upset about when I become an advanced teacher of truth. Then it told me the reason why I wouldn't even pay attention to all the different forms of upset that a person is going through is because they have the same goal, they have the same purpose. So all the different forms of upset are not really different. So what do you do next? It says, well, you seek for God's voice in this brother who was so deceived himself as to believe that God's son can suffer. So what is the biggest deception? The deception of you think you could be a child of God and suffer. There's no way you, as a child of God, you could suffer. Who you really are, what you really are could never suffer. What you really are can never suffer. Who you really are can never suffer. So if you think you are suffering, you are deceiving yourself. What are you deceiving yourself about? You're deceiving yourself about who you are. You're suffering because you're deceiving yourself about who you are. The Course in Miracles says right there, I'm going to seek for God's voice in this person who would so deceive themselves as to believe God's child could suffer. So I'm going to seek for the voice of love because you are upset right now, which means you're deceiving yourself if you think a creation of love can suffer. A creation of love cannot suffer, and you are a creation of love. You are a creation of love. What you really are cannot suffer. What you really are cannot suffer. Who you really are cannot suffer. And the Course in Miracles says, I need to remind you. He says, and they remind him that he did not make himself. So I remind, as an advanced teacher of God, I am going to remind that person in my mind that they didn't make themselves. So I'm going to tell you right now, you didn't make yourself. You didn't make yourself. You didn't make yourself. I need to remind you that you didn't make yourself, which is the same as saying when you're unhappy, I need to remind you that you didn't create yourself. I need to remind you that you didn't create yourself. Something created you. You didn't create yourself. Something created you. Something designed you. Something wanted you to be here. Something wanted you to exist. So the Course in Miracles says that as a teacher of God, I would remind him that he didn't make himself, which means you must remain as God created you. And the Course in Miracles says God created you as love. God created you as free. God created you as loved and loving. You are going to stay that way no matter what you think about yourself. You're still going to be spirit. You're still going to be a creation of love. So as a teacher of God, as a teacher of love, first of all, I don't believe nothing that you're saying that puts you in the position of being in pain and being a victim. That's number one. The next thing I do is I don't really consider the thing that you think you're upset about, because that's not really important. What's important is why you are upset. And the reason why you're upset is because you are deceiving yourself. Why? How do I know you're deceiving yourself? Because you believe that a child of God can suffer. You believe that a child of God can suffer. So I need to remind you that you didn't make yourself, and that you remain as God created you. See, these are the steps. These are the steps. These are the steps. And the Course in Miracles says, a teacher of God, they recognize illusions can have no effect. So if you're going to be an advanced teacher of God, you have to realize that fears and upsets and false ideas can have no effect. A false idea can ultimately have no effect on reality. So the Course in Miracles says a teacher of God, the truth in their minds reaches out to the truth of the minds of their equals. The truth in their minds reaches out to the truth in the minds of their brothers, so that illusions are not reinforced. So how is it that false ideas are not reinforced? How is it that pain and suffering and fear are not reinforced? Well, it's because the truth in my mind will reach out to the truth in that other person's mind. So everybody that you see is unhappy, everybody you see is sick, everybody you see is afraid, they have truth in their minds. Everyone, Donald Trump, everybody has truth in their minds. So the Course in Miracles says, as a teacher of God, I let the truth in my mind reach out to the truth in the other person's mind, because by focusing on the truth, illusions, which are false ideas, are not reinforced. So what is our goal? Our goal is to not reinforce the ego. Our goal is not to reinforce what is not true. Our goal is not to reinforce anger, guilt, or grievances. And how do we do that? How do we not reinforce it? Well, We look for God's voice in this person who's deceiving themselves so much that they think that they could suffer and they are a child of God. Then we remind that person that they did not make themselves, so they still remain that powerful being that God created. Then we let the truth in our mind reach out to the truth in their mind so that the BS that they believe about themselves will not be reinforced. These are the steps that you would use in any situation. Also, remember, you may not be the one that's supposed to help outwardly in a particular situation. As a matter of fact, from a Course in Miracles perspective, it's real obvious that the Course in Miracles wants to give us the easiest way to be the healer, and that's through changing of the mind. So the Course in Miracles says, the truth in their minds reaches out to the truth in the minds of their brothers. Why? So that illusions are not reinforced. So that means the false ideas are thus brought to truth. Truth is not brought to them, the false ideas. So you want to bring false ideas to true ideas. You want to bring false ideas to true ideas. So when someone's thinking something that's a false idea, then you want to join with the part of their mind that is connected to true ideas, because then the false ideas are not reinforced, and then the false ideas are then brought to the truth, and you're not trying to make truth out of the false ideas, so that the false ideas, are they dispelled not by the will of another, but by the union of one will with itself. We are all part of one will. So this is the function of God's teachers. What is the function of God's teachers? The function of God's teachers is to see no will as separate from their own. See, my function is to not, the Course says will and mind are the same thing. So my function is to see, not see your mind as separate from my mind. And not to see my mind as separate from God's mind. That's my function. My function is to not see myself as different from you, not to see myself as separate from you. So let me make this real, okay? Let me make this deeper, because we are going to go over this for as much time as we can within the hour of this session, okay? It's much more important that we remember the steps than to analyze the steps. Do not analyze this. Do not analyze this. That's right. Demola said Trump has truth in his mind too. That's right. Trump has truth in his mind too. He's innocent. That's the truth about him ultimately, who he really is. CJ says, I can heal them through the truth in my mind without getting caught up in the drama personally. Amen. This is good news if you're hearing this correctly, unless you just like a lot of drama. Then this is telling you the easy way to be helpful. Emily says, we are one mind. Bree says, see no will is separate from my own. And Demola says, that's the truth. Phoenix says, false ideas have no control over me. I choose to accept the truth of my true self. Yes, sir. Thank you. We are one. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go back and we're going to get these steps, and we're going to hear these steps again and again until we finish. Okay, here we go. If a person is going to change their mind, if a person is going to change their mind, then you don't have any function with a person that's going to change their mind other than to be happy with them. So every one of us wants to change our mind. That's why we're online right now. That's why we're doing this right now, because we want to change our minds. That's why we're doing this right now, because we want peace, because we want happiness. And so when you're around other people that want peace and happiness just like you want peace and happiness, then your job is to rejoice with them and to be happy with them. Can you change another person's mind for them? Of course you can't change their mind. And who's a person who doesn't know what healing is? A person who doesn't know what healing is a person who believes that they are a victim. A person who believes that things are happening to them that they have nothing to do with. The person who doesn't know that it's their own mind that is creating their reality. That's a person who the Course defines as sick. A sick person is a person who is not in their right mind, who is not having peace. A person who does not know what healing really is a person who believes that things happen to them that they did not create, that they did not create the perception of that. If you're talking to somebody who believes that everything is being done to them, if you're talking to anybody that believes a lot of stuff is being done to them, that there are a lot of challenges that's keeping them from having peace from the outside, then the truth is that you're talking to a person who doesn't really know what healing is. And so what do you do when you're dealing with somebody like that? We were told that you come to represent another choice. God sent you to them to represent another choice, And another choice it means that they could be experiencing peace, they could be experiencing joy, they could be experiencing happiness, regardless of what's happening on the outer. That person could still feel peace on the inside, because peace comes from the way you see things. It has nothing to do with the thing or situation on the outside that you think you're going through. Your happiness is never caused by anything on the outside. Your happiness is never caused by anything on the outside. Your happiness is never caused by anything on the outside. Your happiness is coming from the way that you choose to see things on the inside. So a person who is unhappy because of something that seems to be happening in the outer, that's a person who doesn't know what healing is. That's a person who does not know what truth is. Then the Course in Miracles says that if they even suspected that they were the creator of their reality, they would be healed. So if you just even suspected for real that you were the one that was choosing the way that you feel and the way that you're experiencing things, if you even suspected that you were the one that's making you feel the way that you feel, you would be healed. So we may be saying it, but we don't really believe it yet, because if this applies to you, because if you really believed it, then you would be happy, you would be healed. Then what else did we hear? Then you came to that person to represent another choice. Your simple presence could be a reminder for that person. And while you're there, you need to question everything that person is believing is true if they're unhappy. You stand for the alternative. You did not come to fix anybody. You did not come to fix or heal anybody. You just are there to remind them of the truth and the remedy that God has already given them in your mind. It's not going to be your hands that heal. It's not going to be your voice that speaks the word of God. You're just going to give them what was given to you. You're going to say in your mind to that person, I want you to see what life could offer you. Wouldn't you choose life instead of sickness? Would you choose sickness in place of what life could offer you? Would you choose this unhappiness? Would you choose this problem in place of what life would offer you? If you are truly going to be a teacher of God, if you're going to truly be a teacher of love, you don't consider the form of upset. You don't consider the form of sickness that the person believes in. Because if you focus on the form of the upset, then you've forgotten that every form of upset has the same purpose. And if every form of upset has the same purpose, which is to make you think you are separate from love, separate from God, then those forms of upset are not really different. So you're deceiving yourself when you're miserable and unhappy. Because when a person is miserable and unhappy, they have deceived themselves, because you are a child of God. What you really are is a child of God. And a child of God can't suffer. A child of God cannot be unhappy. It's only the false you, the false self, that can be unhappy. You remind the person that they didn't make themselves, and they have to remain as God created them. So you let the truth in your mind reach out to the truth in the other person's mind, so that you don't reinforce all of the false negative ideas. You let the truth in your mind extend to the truth in the other person's mind, so that you don't let the false ideas become reinforced. So you bring all the false ideas to the truth. You bring all the false ideas to the truth. And that's how you dispel them. So those were the steps. You heard what your function is. And I'm going to go quickly over the steps again, just as soon as I make a few announcements to you. I am a full-time teacher, and I would welcome any financial expressions of appreciation. And if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, just go to www.earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com, and you can also use Venmo. My email address is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. Thank you for seeing value. I do personal one-on-one personal sessions called Clarity Sessions. I've been studying, teaching, and working with the Course in Miracles for over 40 years. And I have been an astrologer, numerologist longer than that. It was through astrology that I even got turned on to New Thought, metaphysics, and eventually the Course in Miracles. So there are many services and things that I can do that hopefully will be helpful to you through the Holy Spirit. It's called a Clarity Session. So go to my website and it explains my sessions in detail. I do 3 Facebook Live presentations a week. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, I do the hardcore Course in Miracles for Course in Miracles students. That's what we did in this presentation. On Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I do another Course in Miracles presentation in front of a live audience. And on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, I teach a class that's also channeled material called The Way of Mastery, which is pretty evident about what that's about. So go to the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook and you'd like to watch my live presentations that are interactive, then go to www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. And you can watch my live presentations, whether you have Facebook or not. Okay, you all did some. Let me see some of the comments. Irene says you are receiving yourself. You're receiving yourself if you are miserable and suffering. The truth is you're a child of God. So I guess she meant to say you are deceiving yourself if you are miserable and suffering. Andrea, thank you for that wonderful compliment. I love you. Deceiving, that's right, that's right, that's what you meant. Emily says one day I'm coming to Denver for a clarity session. You don't have to come to Denver. I do clarity sessions over the phone and also over Skype, so it's not necessary to be here in Denver in order for me to you to have a session with me. Kim, yeah, so thank you. 3 awesome, powerful classes. Okay, so let's go back right quick and let's hear the steps. Let's hear the steps. Let's hear the steps. Let's hear the steps one more time. If a person must change their mind in order to be healed, what do you do? Can you change the other person's mind for them? Certainly not. So what do? With those who are already willing to change their mind, you just go, whoop, whoop, be happy with them. But you have a more specific function with the people who don't believe anything that we believe. People who think that they are victims. You have a more specific function for them if you're going to be a teacher of love, because they don't believe that they chose what's happening to them. And they don't even have an open mind when it comes to that. Because if they even suspected that they were the creator of the unhappiness, they would be healed. But they don't. So you come to represent a choice that the people around you have forgotten. And your simple presence would be a reminder. And what do? You ask for the right to question what that person has accepted as true. You are a symbol of peace. You are the alternative. So who are you? I am the alternative. I am the alternative. You are the alternative. What does that mean? That means that you have the truth in your mind. So you don't come to heal anybody. You're just there to remind them of the remedy that God has already given them. It's not going to be you that's the healer. It's not going to be the thoughts that you come up with. It's going to be the Holy Spirit, the voice for love that's going to be speaking through you. And that voice is going to ask the question, would you choose sickness in place of this? Would you choose unhappiness in place of peace? Would you choose? And so in your mind, you don't go in agreement. You don't join in the suffering. You do not go into agreement. You do not go into agreement with the person who is in despair. You don't go, I agree with you. No, 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 no. That reinforces the illusion. So you also, as you become an advanced teacher of God, you do not consider the forms of sickness that the other person believes. You don't go through all the different specific problems that you think the person has, because all the problems are the same. All problems are the same because they have the same purpose. And the purpose of it is to deceive you. The purpose of your problems is to deceive you. To deceive you about what? To deceive you about you. Because the more upset you are, the more you feel like a victim, the more it looks like you got all these different challenges that you're dealing with, then you are deceiving yourself. Because as a child of God, what you really are cannot suffer. So if you are suffering, it's because you are believing that you are something that you are not. You must be believing you are a body. You must be believing that you are separate. You must be believing that you are a body. If you're unhappy, if you're suffering, if you see yourself with a lot of problems, it means you have forgotten who you are, who you are. It means you have forgotten who you are, who you are. You have forgotten what you are. If it looks like you have a lot of different problems, you just have one problem, and that problem has been solved. And the Course says, as a teacher of God, as a teacher of love, you remind that person in your mind, you remind that person that they didn't make themselves. You remind that person that they still remain as God created them. So you let the truth in your mind reach out to the truth in their mind so that the false ideas and the pain and the suffering is not reinforced. You let the truth in you reach to the truth in them. Let the truth in you reach to the truth in me. Let the truth in me reach to the truth in you. Let the truth in you reach to the truth in me. And that's how we dispel the ego. That is how we dispel illusions. We let the truth in our minds join. That's the one wheel joining with itself. And this is your function. What I've just described to you, this is your function. Now, mighty companions, I'd like for you to share this video on your Facebook page, on your timeline, and into groups. Let other people hear this, that we are sharing together. We are teachers of love. We are teachers of God. It's so great to see you. I appreciate you so much. Mighty companion, may the Course be with you. Thank you for your generosity. I love you.